Forget the Leopard Man and the Merman. This time, I choose the twice reborn little snake. In my first life, I chose the Leopard Man. My cousin, Lily, chose the Merman. Or rather, she manipulated her way into choosing at the same time as me, even though she was supposed to wait another year. The elders adored her and agreed. Just like that, we stood side by side at the contract ceremony, selecting our fated beastmen. The Leopard Man I contracted with was known for his incredible speed and strength, one of the most powerful beastmen in the family's history. Everyone praised my choice. But shortly after, his condition began to decline. I thought he just needed time to adjust. I gave him patience, loyalty, care. I didn't realize the truth until the day I was attacked by a group of rogue beastmen. The Leopard Man stood by, watching coldly as I was torn apart, until it was over. Then he unleashed his full power and annihilated them in seconds. He stood over my broken body, eyes void of remorse. "The biggest mistake you made was choosing me," he said. "You kept me from Lily." I died knowing he had loved her all along and resented me for keeping him from her. In my second life, reborn with full memory, I made a different choice. This time, I rejected the Leopard Man without hesitation and picked the Merman instead. He was calm, elegant, and kind. Surely he'd never betray me. But I underestimated him. He, too, was drawn to Lily. He lured me to the sea under the pretense of showing me his home. Instead, he conspired with his people and drowned me. As I drifted away, I heard his last words. "I'm sorry. But I love Lily. I love her so much it drives me insane." I died again, betrayed by both men. Now, for the third time, I've been reborn. And once again, I've been brought back to the exact moment of the Beastman selection ceremony. "Arya," the elders urged impatiently. "How long are you going to stall? Lily is waiting behind you." I looked at the Leopard Man, whose sharp eyes didn't hide his interest in Lily. Then at the Merman, who was already sneaking glances her way. My head throbbed. I turned to my mother and whispered, "Can I choose neither of them?" "No," she said firmly. "Arya, are you worried about their strength?" "I personally chose these two. The Leopard Man is the most gifted warrior we've seen in a century. The Merman is a royal, likely to become the next Merman King." She didn't understand. I couldn't explain that in 2 lifetimes, I died by their hands. But I couldn't walk away either. According to family tradition, all descendants must bond with a beastman during the ceremony. If I refused, my mother would face scrutiny, ridicule, maybe even exile from the elders. I had to choose. But I couldn't risk those two again. Not when both were already looking at Lily like she was the sun. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. A blur of black darted past. It was small, fast, and barely noticeable. A snake, long and thin, slithered toward the edge of the ceremonial platform. No one else noticed it. It didn't look powerful, and it certainly didn't have a humanoid form. But I felt it, the unmistakable magical pulse of a beastman. Without thinking, I leapt forward, caught it in my hands, and shouted, "I choose this one." The elders gasped. Before anyone could stop me, I formed a contract. A silver light flared, signifying a completed bond. "Damn it." A voice thundered in my head, deep and furious. "Contracting with me again? Are you trying to die for a third time?" I blinked in shock. "What?" Everyone around me was stunned. Lily's jaw dropped. "Cousin. After all that hesitation, you chose a little snake?" An elder barked, "Arya, this is not a joke. The contract ceremony is sacred." I raised my wrist, showing the glowing mark of our family's contract, a shimmering silver sigil only formed during true bonding. "I'm not mocking anyone," I said calmly. "Didn't I form a contract like everyone else?" There was silence. Grudgingly, they accepted that the little snake was indeed a beastman. Lily stepped forward for her turn, full of smug superiority. Meanwhile, I stepped aside, clutching the little snake. Away from prying eyes, I whispered, "Just now." "You said again? What do you mean?" The snake didn't open its mouth, but its voice rang in my head, low, magnetic, and full of restrained rage. "You've got some nerve asking that." My powers have nearly vanished. I was trying to escape this damn place. In your last life and the one before that, you dragged me to death, twice. Each time, it happened just as I was close to regaining my peak form. I didn't want to be bound to you ever again. And yet, you found me and forced a contract again? I stared at him, heart pounding. This wasn't just any snake. This was someone who had lived through my tragedies alongside me. Someone reborn. Like me. And this time, I wasn't going to let the past repeat. Right now, the family elders were growing impatient. "Arya," one of them snapped, "how long are you going to dawdle? Lily is still waiting behind you." I looked at the Leopard Man standing tall and cold, then at the Merman, who wasn't even trying to hide the way he kept sneaking glances at Lily. My head throbbed with frustration and dread. I leaned closer to my mother and whispered, "Can I not choose?" Her eyes narrowed. "No." "Arya, are you worried about their strength?" These two were handpicked by me. The Leopard Man is the most talented warrior of his generation, unmatched in speed and strength. And the Merman? He's the crown prince of his clan, next in line to become the Merman king. She spoke with pride, but she couldn't possibly understand what I knew. I had lived through the future, twice. And both of these men had killed me, all because of Lily. But I couldn't explain that. The pressure was mounting. Mother's voice turned cold. "Just choose one already. Lily can only have the one you don't pick." Her eyes scanned the crowd, sharp and defensive. Many in the family look down on me, but they still don't have the power to override my decisions. Not yet. Still, even with her support, not choosing wasn't an option. In our magical family, every heir had a bond with the Beastman at the ceremony. It was tradition. It was law. Walking away would only bring shame to my mother and give the elders a reason to tear her down. But choosing either of those two meant repeating my death all over again. They might be strong, but they would never stand beside me. Their loyalty already belonged to Lily. Just as I was trying to decide which betrayal I could survive longer, a shadow flashed past me. It was quick, barely noticeable, long and thin, like a streak of darkness sliding across the floor. A small snake. It didn't have a human form. Its scales shimmered faintly, and its eyes glowed with strange intelligence. Despite its appearance, I could feel it. This snake carried the unique magical aura of a beastman. No one else seemed to have noticed it. Without hesitation, I lunged forward, grabbed it gently in both hands, and raised my voice. "I choose this one." Before anyone could react, I pressed my palm against its head and formed the contract. A silver light flared, proof of the bond. "Damn it." A voice echoed sharply inside my head. "Are you trying to die again by contracting with me?" My eyes flew open. The entire ceremony had fallen into stunned silence. Lily, stunned for a moment, suddenly burst out laughing. "Cousin, after all that drama, you picked that broken little snake?" One of the elders growled, "Arya, this is a sacred ritual. Are you mocking us?" I calmly lifted my wrist to reveal the silver mark, a clear and irrefutable sign of a completed Beastman contract. "How am I mocking you?" I asked coolly. "Didn't I form a contract just like everyone else?" They fell silent. No one could deny the mark. No one could deny the bond. Even if they hated it, they had no choice but to accept it. Next, it was Lily's turn to choose. Finally, I stepped aside and held the little snake close, finding a quiet corner. "Just now. You said die again. What did you mean by that?" His voice entered my mind without his mouth moving. "You've got some nerve asking that," he said, his voice deep and magnetic, laced with restrained fury. "My powers are ruined. I was trying to escape this whole mess. In your last life, and the one before that, you died. Twice. And every time, you dragged me down with you. Each time, just as I was on the verge of regaining my true power, you died and shattered everything. I wasn't going to let you ruin me a third time. I was leaving. And then you grabbed me and forced a contract again?" I blinked. "So, we've been through this together. Twice?" I whispered. The snake snorted, clearly unimpressed. "I don't want this kind of connection." I smiled slightly. "Well, like it or not, we're partners now. From now on, we fight side by side." He grumbled, "I'll be lucky if I don't kill you myself." I looked across the courtyard, where Lily was standing between the Leopard Man and the Merman, clearly enjoying the attention. "What do you think?" I asked. "Which one will she choose?" The snake twisted slightly in my hand, his tone dripping with disdain. "Who cares?" "All right, then tell me, who do you think is stronger?" "They're both weak." I rolled my eyes and turned my attention back to Lily, only to find her suddenly turning toward me. She smiled sweetly. "Cousin," she called out, "who do you think I should choose?" The entire courtyard went silent. Every eye turned to me, waiting for my answer. Whether Lily followed my advice or not, the Beastman she didn't choose would inevitably direct all his hatred at me. She was using me to absorb that hatred. I gave a cold laugh. "Why not take both of them, cousin? These two Beastmen are so exceptional. I'm sure someone as gifted as you wouldn't mind splitting your spirit power to keep them both." In truth, our family's bloodline did allow for multiple Beastman contracts. But it came at a painful price. Every contract occupied space in the Mind Sea, our spiritual core. To bond with more than one beastman, a person had to forcibly split their spirit power, forming separate channels for each connection. It wasn't just draining, it was agony. Like tearing your soul apart piece by piece. Even the tiniest damage could leave a person trembling for days. Sure enough, Lily's expression twisted for a fraction of a second before she quickly composed herself. With a sweet smile, she said, "Oh, I was just teasing. I've already made my decision." She walked confidently to the Leopard Man, who stood tall with pride, waiting. She pricked her fingertip and let a drop of blood fall onto his lowered forehead. A burst of silver light flared, the contract completed. The Leopard Man smirked at the Merman with smug triumph, and knelt down on one knee before Lily. "I am Zack," he said solemnly. "From this moment forward, I will protect you, forever." I sighed quietly, unable to stop the flash of memory that surfaced. In my first life, I stood alone, holding off waves of enemy beastmen to protect Zack. He had stood back, emotionless, watching me fall. He hadn't always been so loyal. "What a stupid woman," Kieran hissed bitterly in my mind. "If you couldn't beat them, why didn't you run? Didn't you realize he didn't care about you? He was just waiting for you to die." "How was I supposed to know back then?" I snapped. "We had a contract. Doesn't that mean you trust your partner to protect your back?" Kieran fell silent for a long moment. Then he finally spoke, reluctant and a little awkward. "My name is Kieran." The contract ceremony concluded. I prepared to leave, intending to explain to my mother why I hadn't chosen either of the beastmen she had prepared. But the drama wasn't over yet. The Merman's face had gone pale. He held Lily's hand with desperation in his eyes. "You really don't want me?" he pleaded. "I'm capable of sound-based attacks. I can kill enemies within a mile instantly. I have healing abilities too. As long as someone isn't dead, I can save them." Kieran chuckled softly. "That's not even what he's best at." Curious, I asked, "Then what is he best at?" Kieran refused to answer. Still, no matter how hard the Merman begged, Lily let go of his hand. "I already have Zack." "But you can form 2 contracts," he said, voice rising. Lily turned to glare at me with quiet fury, blaming me for putting that idea into his head. Of course she didn't want to endure the agony of splitting her spirit power. She yanked her hand away from the Merman's grip, but still forced a soft, graceful smile. "I'm sorry," she said gently, "but one is enough for me. Zack is all I need." I was ready to come up with a believable excuse to tell my mother, anything to avoid explaining my rebirths, especially twice. But to my surprise, she placed her hand on my shoulder and said calmly, "If it's difficult to talk about, then you don't have to explain. No matter what, I believe in my daughter." Across 2 lifetimes, the only constant was that my mother never stopped believing in me. She had watched me die twice. I couldn't imagine how much pain that caused her. For her sake alone, I needed to become stronger. I turned to look at Kieran, my voice firm. "Now that we've formed a contract, the next step is to train together." Kieran snorted. "You think I need to train with you?" But an incensed tick later, after much glaring and stubborn silence, he dragged his limp little snake body to my feet and begrudgingly muttered, "Fine. I'm willing." I smiled. With a final hug, I bid farewell to my mother and entered the Trial Spirit Realm with Kieran. The Trial Spirit Realm was an ancient, self-contained dimension, teeming with magical beasts and spiritual treasures. I started from the outskirts, killing weaker beasts to build my strength and courage. At first, I was the one being hunted. Then, I learned to fight back. Eventually, I could stand my ground against 10 enemies at once. Kieran, for his part, rarely stayed with me. He wandered off on his own, training and cultivating in solitude, always coming back late, always leaving early. But after everything I had lived through in my past lives, my standards for a beastman partner had changed drastically. As long as he didn't kill me, I was content. Besides, every increase in Kieran's power helped me too. Our lives were now linked. Even if he grumbled at me daily, we were bound. And this time, I wasn't going to die so easily. In the 3rd month, Kieran finally transformed into his human form. That night, he returned earlier than usual. When I saw him, I dismissed the magical beast that had been massaging my legs and back and pulled out the feather spirit fruit I had specially picked for him. "Come here," I said cheerfully. "This feather spirit fruit is perfect for your kind. It'll boost your cultivation faster than anything else." As I spoke, I tried to offer the fruit to his mouth, but before I could reach him, a strange mist appeared out of nowhere. A pale hand with sharp knuckles extended from the white fog and caught my wrist midair. "Who told you I'm from the Snake Clan?" The voice was unmistakable, deep, smooth, and magnetic. It was Kieran. But this time, he wasn't a snake. Dressed in black robes, tall and composed, he stood before me in his human form. His face was cold, but undeniably handsome. My heart skipped slightly. He looked really good. Trying to shake it off, I muttered, "Fine. If you don't want it, I'll eat it myself." I tossed the fruit toward my mouth, but Kieran intercepted it and casually popped it into his own instead. I rolled my eyes. What a fickle snake. After that day, Kieran's attitude changed. He followed me everywhere. Even when I needed to use the bathroom. It became a problem. Kieran wouldn't fight with me. His presence alone was enough to scare off every magical beast in the area. "Can you give me some space?" I finally complained. After a moment of silence, he agreed. From then on, he forced groups of magical beasts to chase me relentlessly, pushing me to train under pressure. It worked. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. I had fought through the entire trial spirit realm. The magical beasts that once attacked me now bowed their heads in submission. The realm had nothing left to offer me. It was time to leave. As I approached the exit, I saw a familiar figure standing just beyond the threshold. "Mother." I ran toward her. She looked me over with pride in her eyes. "Arya, you've grown strong?" I leaned my head against her shoulder, smiling. "Of course. I'm your daughter." The moment was warm, until a sour voice cut through the peace. "Cousin truly has improved quickly. You must have found some rare treasures in the trial spirit realm." It was Lily. She smiled sweetly, but her eyes were evasive. "But then again, you are Aunt's daughter. The family leader's child. So of course those treasures belong to you." Her words were laced with poison. And unfortunately, they worked. The expressions of those around us shifted, suspicion crept into their eyes. As if everything I'd gained had been handed to me by my mother's influence. I raised my head calmly. It seems cousin doesn't understand the trial spirit realm at all. I stayed there for half a year. That's the longest record in our family's history. You really think I improved because of some treasures? Lily wasn't used to being humiliated in public. I'd always let her slide before. But not this time. "Oh, I just remembered," I added casually. "Cousin hasn't trained in the realm yet, has she? Our tradition says you only enter the trial spirit realm after forming a contract with your beastman. But you made your contract early, didn't you?" Another exception. Her face darkened. She had intended to frame me as the one receiving favoritism, but I flipped the script. And people noticed. "Yeah, Lily already has a beastman," someone muttered. "Why hasn't she gone through the trial?" "We all had to risk our lives inside that place," another added. "Why does she get special treatment?" Lily started to panic. "My beastman and I are perfectly in sync. We don't need to train like others," she said, trying to sound calm. That only made people laugh. "You think the trial is just about bonding?" Someone scoffed. "It's about building real strength." Lily faltered, unable to respond. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the crowd. A dark blur flashed past everyone and stopped at Lily's side. It was Zach, her Leopard Man. His speed was frighteningly fast, and many gasped in awe. He wrapped his arms around Lily protectively and raised his chin. "Do you doubt my strength?" he asked coldly. "You think Lily should suffer like the rest of you?" No one answered. Zach's power was obvious. "She doesn't need trials. I'll protect her." And with that, Zach lifted Lily into his arms and left the scene. Before he disappeared, he turned his head and cast a sharp, lingering glance in my direction. But it wasn't aimed at Kieran, he looked only at me. A silent threat. I frowned slightly. No matter how things looked on the surface, Zach was hostile toward me. I couldn't afford to lower my guard. Soon, the day of the family's grand competition arrived. According to our traditions, every young member with a contracted beastman had to participate. The winner would receive rare magical artifacts and top-grade cultivation pills. They could even request a personal wish, within reason, and the elders would grant it. Lily came to me the day before the event. With a falsely sweet smile, she said, "I'm entering the competition too." "Cousin, I drew you as my opponent," Lily said with an innocent smile. "But my beastman is very powerful. You don't mind, do you?" "I do mind," I replied coldly. Lily blinked, caught off guard. She clearly hadn't expected me to actually say it. In my first life, the night before the family competition, Zach had called me away. On the way back, I was ambushed by a group of out-of-control beastmen. I fought hard, alone, and died. Zach only acted after my death. He killed the beasts and gathered their spirit crystals. Then he gifted them to Lily. Her cultivation soared overnight, and she easily won the family competition. The wish she made afterward? To officially receive Zack, the beastman who had lost his previous master, me. Using the Elder's help and forbidden magical tools, Lily split her spirit power without pain and bonded with her second beastman. Meanwhile, my soul was shattered and reborn into what I thought was my final life. So yes, I minded. A lot. Lily's face stiffened, her perfect act cracking. Cousin. This competition is important. I have something I must accomplish. Please don't take it personally. I smiled faintly. Then why ask my permission at all? Before she could reply, Zack appeared at her side and protectively wrapped his arms around her. Arya Frost, he said darkly. If you had just been kinder to Lily, I might have let you lose with dignity. But treating her like this, I won't go easy on you. Right then, a wave of suffocating pressure filled the air. Kieran stepped forward. Zack staggered and dropped to his knees, caught completely off guard. Kieran walked up to him slowly, squatted, and stared into his eyes. Someone as weak as you, he said coldly, wants to make her lose? Be specific, how exactly did you plan to do that? Zack struggled, veins bulging, but couldn't break free from the pressure. Eventually, Lily had no choice but to bow her head and apologize to me in front of everyone. Only then did Kieran release them. As they walked away, their voices drifted clearly to our ears. Lily. I'm sorry. No, Zack. It's not your fault. I'm too weak. Don't worry. I'll protect you, no matter what. After that, they didn't appear in front of me again. Until the day of the family competition. Lily stood across from me with a serene expression, completely unfazed. I didn't waste time, I launched the first attack. Within moments, she was wounded. Now it was time for our respective beastmen to enter the battle. Lily's smile twisted into something darker. Arya Frost, I hate that smug look on your face. Just because your mother's a family leader, you think you're untouchable. Everything you have. I'll take it from you. The moment Zack appeared, I knew something was wrong. His aura was unstable. He had taken a forbidden drug, one that temporarily boosts a beastman's strength at the cost of tearing their body apart from the inside. If the meridians couldn't handle the overload of demonic energy, they would rupture, and the result was often death. So what? Zack said softly, eyes full of affection as he looked at Lily. For her, I'd do anything. Then, without warning, he struck. But he didn't come for me. He lunged at Kieran. How are you still alive? I should have killed you. Kieran didn't flinch. He met Zack's attack head-on. Boom. When their energies collided, the ground shook. For a moment, it looked as if they were evenly matched. Then Zack's face twisted in pain. Despite the forbidden boost, he couldn't overpower Kieran. Within seconds, he was on the ground, defeated, his body twitching, his fate uncertain. We had won. But Kieran hadn't used his full power. He wanted Zack to suffer. Unfortunately, we forgot about one person. Ryan, the Merman Prince. He had healing powers. Lily, as always, went to him. And Ryan, still hopelessly in love, didn't hesitate. He tore off his most precious scales, his core source of power, and used them to save Zack's life. Hey. Still the same, even in this life. Back then, after I died, Ryan had knelt before Lily and begged to stay by her side. No contract. No conditions. Just a poisonous vow, I'll never betray you. And now, once again, he proved it. Even if it meant destroying himself. Ironically, it was his betrayal of me that made him Lily's most loyal protector. Loyalty built on lies. But still more devoted than truth. Of course, not everyone appreciated that kind of loyalty. Especially not his current contracted master, Rose. I stumbled upon them by chance, just in time to hear her yelling at Ryan. In the mist-shrouded hot spring, Ryan stood bare-chested, silently enduring the whiplashes from Rose. Ryan, she snarled, have you forgotten who your contract is with? You are my beastman. Her whip cracked through the steam, striking his back with a wet sound. And you gave your most precious scales to that low-status woman, Lily? That word, low status, seemed to finally stir something in Ryan. He raised his head slightly and said with calm defiance, Lily is not low status. And I plucked off those scales on my own. Rose's fury exploded. Ha! You're still defending her. She screamed, whipping him again and again. Losing that scale has weakened you. Your cultivation will stagnate, and that affects me. Ryan's back was a mess of blood and torn flesh. Watching this from a distance, I grabbed Kieran's sleeve, ready to retreat silently. But Ryan turned his head, eyes locking onto mine through the steam. Damn, I whispered. He saw me. He'll probably think I snitched and hold it against me. Kieran tilted his head, his voice eerily calm. Well, you're destined to be enemies anyway. Why don't we strike first and kill them both? His tone wasn't joking. I met his gaze and nodded seriously. They each killed me once in a past life. Returning the favor seems fair. But I never imagined Ryan's retaliation would come even faster than our plan. The family had assigned me an external mission, standard but important. Then Lily conveniently stepped forward, all sweetness and fake guilt. I feel terrible about what happened with Arya and Kieran, she said. Let me take this mission for her. I insist. But Kieran had already shown me a hidden scene, Lily and Zach plotting. Lily, this mission must be special. Arya might use it to boost her cultivation again. Zach, then take it. Lily, can I really? Zach, don't be afraid. I swear on my life, I'll protect you. Truthfully, I had no interest in that mission. It was far away, with no chance to see my mother again. I was happy to let her go. But then, late at night, I woke to cold fingers around my throat. Ryan. He stood over me in the moonlight, hands squeezing my neck, his beautiful face twisted in a quiet madness. Where is Lily? He hissed. What? Where did you force her to go? I slid a dagger from my sleeve. How would I know? Don't lie to me. She went to complete your mission. Rose told me everything. Even though he'd already formed a new contract with Rose, he still cared so deeply for Lily. I couldn't understand her pull over him. But I had a plan. All right, I'll tell you. Just as his grip loosened, I activated my spiritual energy and flipped the dagger upward toward his chest. It hit. But didn't pierce. Ryan laughed darkly. I used the Merman clan's most sacred artifact, the spirit-avoiding pearl. You can't harm me. His hands began to tighten again. Now, tell me, where is Lily? But before he could finish his threat, he collapsed backward. Kieran stood behind him, expression like ice. You touched her, Kieran said darkly. You want to die that badly? He transferred a burst of warm energy into me, healing my throat and calming my trembling limbs. I was gone for one incense stick, and you've already ended up like this? He muttered. I didn't ask where he had gone. I was too shaken, and too grateful. Ryan was immediately dragged before the family elders. But Rose, being the Grand Elder's granddaughter and doted on by half the council, pulled strings. The so-called punishment? Sent him to the confinement tower to reflect for a month. A slap on the wrist. Mother's face was hard with fury. She straightened her back, clearly ready to argue, but I gently grabbed her hand. It's all right, Mother, I said softly. I'm fine, see? She held my hand tightly, but said nothing. Because I wasn't done yet. No, my plan had just begun. What I wanted wasn't just petty revenge. I was going to catch both Zach and Ryan in the same trap. But before I could make my move, something happened in the family. Something that changed everything. Ryan escaped. Before fleeing, he killed his contract master, Rose, and was seriously injured in the process. The Grand Elder was furious. He immediately sent out dozens of elite family members to track down the traitor who had murdered his granddaughter. But after 10 days of relentless searching, there was still no trace of Ryan. He hadn't returned to his home waters, nor had he been seen in any nearby realm. At first, people assumed Ryan had simply wanted to break free from his forced contract and return to the sea as the Merman prince he once was. But that theory fell apart. Because while everyone was focused on hunting Ryan, Lily returned. She came back from her so-called mission carrying more than just her usual smugness. Alongside her was Zach, her ever-loyal Leopard Man. And in her arms, nestled in a glass tank, swam a small, silver fish. Of course, the truth became obvious soon enough. Lily had rescued Ryan. He had come to find her, and she had hidden him in plain sight, forcing him to shrink his entire body, revert to a fish form, and smuggling him back into the family grounds in that tiny tank. And everywhere Lily went, she carried Ryan with her. Her obsession with him was so intense, so obvious, that even Zach, her first contracted beastman, became irritable and unstable. He began picking fights, lashing out, always simmering with rage. That's how we ended up here. I was walking peacefully down the path when Zach suddenly stepped in front of me, blocking my way. I moved left. He moved left. I moved right. He mirrored me again. I didn't bother with words. I just raised my hand and struck. He sneered. You think you can hurt me with that? The next second, he was on the ground, spitting blood. Impossible, he gasped. Your cultivation, how is it this strong already? I didn't answer. I glanced at Kieran, who simply smiled faintly. This power? I owed it to the army of magical beasts Kieran had herded into the trial spirit realm to train me. I stepped over Zach's broken figure. But behind me, a high-pitched scream pierced the air. Arya Frost. Lily shrieked. How dare you hurt Zach? She grabbed my wrist, calling out to the crowd that had started to gather. Everyone look. Arya Frost is abusing her status as the daughter of the family leader. She's attacking my beastman. Zach, sensing the attention, weakly spat out another mouthful of blood and collapsed dramatically into Lily's arms. Lily. I'm fine, he whispered. Don't speak, she cried, glaring up at me with false righteousness. Cousin, you owe me an explanation. I stared at her, deadpan. An explanation? I hit him. That's it. What else do you want? A glimmer of satisfaction danced in Lily's eyes. This was exactly the reaction she wanted from me. Arrogant. Unreasonable. Easily framed. But her joy lasted only a second. Because I added, I didn't want to hit him. Her face twitched. I was just shocked, I continued, pulling a glowing object from the air. Lily's storage bag. Inside, I revealed the small glass tank. With one sharp movement, I shattered it on the ground and activated a forced manifestation spell. In a flash, a figure emerged, a silver-haired man with a long fishtail. Ryan. The crowd gasped. I pointed. Look, cousin. That little fish you've been carrying? It's not just any fish. It's Ryan, the merman who killed Rose. Zach helped you hide him. Lily's lips trembled. Zach, watching her reaction, slowly realized what was happening. She said nothing. His eyes, once bright with hope, dimmed completely. Moments later, Grand Elder's men arrived. Ryan and Zach were arrested on the spot. Lily immediately turned her back on them. Yes. It was all Zach's doing. I didn't know anything. I'm innocent. I thought it was just an ordinary fish. Since this merman is the murderer, let the Grand Elder deal with him. Zach, now hollow-eyed, didn't look back once as they dragged him away. Lily collapsed to the ground in tears. As Kieran and I turned to leave, Lily reached out and grabbed his sleeve. You're Arya's beastman, right? She whispered, eyes wet. You're the one who saw through Ryan's disguise? You're so amazing. Kieran looked at me. I said nothing. He kicked her away without hesitation. Filthy thing, he spat. Later, while walking, he seemed upset. You didn't care about me just now? I blinked. You handled it fine. Honestly, that kick was impressive. He crossed his arms. It's different. Ah. Sensitive Snake Clan problems. Zach and Ryan were thrown into the suppression tower, awaiting public execution in 3 days. Lily wasn't punished. But once Zach died, she would lose her beastman bond, and no one in the family even suggested she be allowed to find another. She was isolated, powerless, and panicked. She came to me, eyes red, voice trembling. Cousin. I'm sorry. Please, I beg you. Can you spare Zach and Ryan? I can't live without them. I looked at her, cold and unmoved. It's not my decision. Go beg the Grand Elder. They won't even see me. She dropped to her knees, clutching my leg. Please. You must have a way. Aunt is the family leader, her influence could save them. I yanked my leg free and stared her down. Oh, now you think my mother's power is great? Where was that belief when you spread lies with outsiders? When you said she was nothing but a puppet? And if she refuses your request this time, will you go whispering again that she's unworthy of her position? Lily lay on the ground for a long time without moving. Finally, she lifted her tear-streaked face and hissed, Arya Frost. Seeing me like this must make you very happy, right? Still so high and mighty. You haven't changed at all. Of course, I knew she wouldn't give up so easily. And sure enough, that night, Kieran returned and said flatly, Want to hear a joke? I'm not in the mood. I turned away. I was still annoyed. Lately, Kieran had been disappearing every night without telling me where he went. It wasn't just suspicious, it showed he didn't trust me. Not fully. But his bright, unbothered eyes ignored my cold shoulder. Lily went to beg your Grand Elder, he said. And guess what? He agreed to see her. I turned slightly. Didn't the elders say they wouldn't entertain her? Kieran smirked, satisfied. I thought you weren't listening. Then he said something that made my stomach churn. The Grand Elder demanded Lily's body in exchange for sparing one of her beastmen. Only one. She could save either Zach or Ryan, not both. I had assumed she'd choose Zach. But she didn't. She chose Ryan. Ryan emerged from the suppression tower, weakened but radiating deep affection. Lily, he said, voice trembling, I won't let you down. Lily bit her lip, her voice soft and hopeful. Is it true? Will you really take me back to the Shunsi? Of course. Ryan didn't wait. He pulled her into a hug, kissed her forehead, and whispered, You'll be my princess. No one will ever frame you again. They left together and headed straight to the hot springs behind the mountain, the same place where Ryan had once been whipped. Now it was their secret haven, filled with passionate moans instead of screams. Only then did I understand the real ability Kieran had refused to tell me about. Ryan's hidden talent, manipulating desire. Meanwhile, in the suppression tower, Zack watched it all unfold through Kieran's illusion mirror. Do you see it now? Kieran said quietly. She didn't choose you. You're her beast man. But your death means nothing to her. Zack's face paled. Then, slowly, he clenched his fists and whispered, Fine. I agree to your terms. Just don't forget your promise, when it's over, you'll give Lily to me. Only me. As I stepped out of the suppression tower, I laughed coldly. Finally. Now we can get rid of all three, Lily, Zack, and Ryan, in one strike. Mother's a family leader. She can't act directly. So I'll do it myself. I raised my chin arrogantly. They shouldn't have provoked me again and again. When the onlookers scattered, Kieran chuckled beside me. Keep going. I enjoy hearing you talk like that. I blushed. If I say something, it's not for you. He leaned closer, voice low and teasing. But I am your beast man. He paused. Master. I practically jumped. What did you just say? He laughed softly behind me. Even my mother began subtly questioning our bond. Arya. I think Kieran is an excellent man. There's precedent in our clan. If you like him, I'll support it. I nearly choked. Mother. Can we focus on important matters first? The day of Zack's execution arrived. But Lily didn't show up. On the platform, Zack knelt, his eyes dull and empty. Then, without warning, he ignited his soul fire. Normal death for a beastman wouldn't affect the master. But soul fire was different. A beastman's soul fire was bound to their master's spirit sea. If it burned out, the damage could cause madness or death. Finally, Lily pushed through the crowd, panic in her eyes. Zack, stop it. Right now. Zack looked up, eyes wild. Lily. You came. I knew you would. But he didn't stop. Lily screamed, Don't you love me? If you burn your soul fire, you'll die, and so will I. Die? Zack's voice trembled. So you do know. You knew what this meant. And still, you didn't come to see me. I did everything for you. I always did everything for you. And yet, you threw me away for him. Ryan, standing beside Lily, looked stunned. Then he gave a bitter smile. Zack, we're the same. Both of us love Lily to the point of madness. We would both die for her. Do you really want to drag her down with you? Zack's breathing slowed. Lily, he whispered. My name is Zack. And I will love you. Forever. He stopped resisting the burn, planning to calm his fire. But in that moment, his eyes went wide with horror. The fire wouldn't stop. His soul fire had passed the point of return. Zack turned his eyes to me, voice cracking with pain. Arya. What did you do? You told me this soul fire could be stopped. I blinked innocently. I didn't do anything. And that was the truth. I hadn't done a thing. That's why Zack's fire couldn't be stopped. It burned him from the inside out. Until there was nothing left. What? Zack asked, eyes wide with disbelief. You promised me. You said you'd cast a secret spell on me so I could stop the soul fire at will. You lied. I smiled coldly. Yes. I lied to you. Zack let out a roar of rage. Despite the agony ripping through his body and soul, he launched himself at me in a final burst of desperation. But with one effortless strike, I sent him flying back to the execution platform, his body slamming hard against the stone. He never got up again. His mouth trembled, but no words came out. His soul fire was already past the point of no return. All he could do was stare at Lily in the distance. His last gaze held only love, foolish, unwavering love. But Lily didn't even look back. She was screaming and crying, clawing at Ryan's arm. Ryan, I don't want to die. What should I do? I don't want to die. Ryan, usually so calm, looked completely lost. Lily, realizing Ryan had no answer, turned to run toward me, perhaps to beg for mercy from the one who orchestrated it all. But I had no intention of letting her near. Blood poured from her mouth. Her spirit sea was unraveling. Ryan's healing could only delay the inevitable, not stop it. Then, a deep voice boomed across the platform. Enough. Everyone froze. The Grand Elder strode forward, fury blazing in his eyes. He reached Lily and quickly fed her a high-grade spiritual pill. Her condition stabilized instantly. His tone was sharp, accusing. Arya Frost, how dare you defy family ethics and collude with a criminal like Zack to harm your own cousin? A group of 5 elders followed behind, carrying spiritual chains. Her behavior is outrageous. We will imprison her in the spirit prison immediately. Punishment will be decided later. I'd like to see who dares. My mother's voice cut through the air like lightning. She raised a golden magical artifact, and a glowing barrier sprang up between me and the elders, making their chains recoil. The Grand Elder's gaze turned sharp and calculating. Family leader. Are you shielding your daughter? This isn't shielding, my mother said evenly. It's called trust. I believe in my daughter. She would never do what you claim. The second elder scoffed. Humph. Today she schemed to make Zack burn his soul fire and nearly caused Lily's death. It happened in front of everyone. The Grand Elder raised his hand and a magical screen shimmered to life in the sky. It played scenes from the Suppression Tower. My secret conversation with Zack. His agreement. My plan. Then the scene shifted, to me outside the tower, saying, finally we can get rid of Lily and those 2 annoying beastmen in one go. Mother is the family leader and can't act directly, so I'll do it myself. Who told them to be so blind as to provoke me again and again? The crowd gasped. The atmosphere boiled with tension. Lily covered her face, sobbing pitifully. Cousin, I never thought you were like this. What did I ever do to deserve this? Why do you hate me? The Grand Elder stepped forward, triumphant. Surprised, aren't you, Arya Frost? I knew how vicious you were. That's why I set all these traps in advance. He looked down at me with arrogant satisfaction. Now, confess. I tilted my head and let out a laugh. Confess? I narrowed my eyes, then lifted my chin proudly. Of course not. One carefully edited scene isn't proof. I have more. Behind me, Kieran raised his hand. Another projection appeared, this time from our side. The first scene showed the Grand Elder forcing Lily down, telling her she had to offer her body to save just one beastman. Then came footage of several elders gathered in secret, whispering about removing my mother from her position as family leader. And finally, the Grand Elder himself, eyes glowing red, dark energy swirling around him, clear signs of demonic cultivation. I looked around calmly. Well then, Elder, are these scenes enough for you? Their answer came not in words, but in a sudden burst of violent spiritual pressure, killing intent. This life, I wasn't killed. And that gave me time to reflect on how this all began. Back then, my mother had prepared tirelessly for my Beastman contract ceremony. She handpicked the strongest candidates, proud, powerful, elite. But something went wrong. Zack was arrogant and cruel. Ryan was cunning and resentful. They couldn't have been the ones my mother chose. Not unless someone interfered. Now I was beginning to see the truth. And it was far worse than I ever imagined. Upon careful investigation, I discovered the truth behind it all. Everything had been orchestrated by the Grand Elder. He had long coveted my mother's position as the family leader, but with no legitimate reason to overthrow her, he turned his ambition toward me instead. He corrupted the Beastman selection ceremony. He ensured I died not once, but twice, in my past lives. And now, remembering the weight of those deaths, I could only imagine how much pain my mother must have suffered. Alone. Powerless. In this life, I hadn't died. And that gave me the chance to see clearly. Although I never witnessed it directly, I was sure that after my death in the second life, he and his allies made their move without mercy. The final proof? Simple. The Grand Elder had been spying on me and Kieran. When I pretended to send Kieran away one night, Ryan came to assassinate me, armed with a spirit-avoiding pearl, a sacred item he had no means of obtaining himself. It was all part of the Grand Elder's scheme. And now that the truth was exposed, the Grand Elder finally snapped. He released a sky-filling wave of demonic chi, the black mist twisting like a monstrous storm above the courtyard. So what if you found out? He sneered, madness in his eyes. There aren't many people here today. I just need to kill all of you. I felt my mother's hand squeeze mine. Arya, step back, she whispered. But instead, I shielded her, placing her behind me. I turned to someone standing just out of sight. Please, I said calmly. It's your turn. Kieran smiled. In the next heartbeat, he vanished. A blink later, he reappeared directly in front of the Grand Elder. With one precise motion, his clawed hand plunged into the Grand Elder's chest, and withdrew a still-beating, blood-red heart. Kieran crushed it in his palm. The Grand Elder gasped. Impossible. You are. He never finished the sentence. He died in shock, never realizing how quickly his end would come. As for the remaining elders, I had made a prior agreement with Kieran, they were mine. I needed the practice. And so I took them on. Those once arrogant, white-bearded sages who stood above me in 2 lifetimes now lay trembling at my feet like dogs. When I was done, I handed them over to Mother for punishment. Then, I walked toward Lily. She was still alive. Her face was pale as snow, her body trembling uncontrollably in Ryan's arms. Don't kill me, cousin. I beg you. Please. She whimpered. I played tricks, yes, but I never tried to kill you. You can't. I'm innocent. Ryan pulled her closer, shielding her with his arms, glaring at me. Too bad for him, his glare was worthless. With a flick of my hand, I ripped him from her grip and forced him back into his original fish form. Then, coldly, without hesitation, I cut off his tail. The stench of blood hit the air. Lily was so terrified, she lost control of her bladder right there. I tilted my head and smiled. Are you sure you never wanted to kill me? Even if you didn't, people like you drew killers to me, again and again. How innocent am I really supposed to be about that? I showed mercy only once. And that was letting Lily die with Zach and Ryan together in disgrace. When I saw their lifeless bodies piled on the execution platform, tangled with Zach's burnt remains, I felt nothing. No guilt. No fear. Only peace. The frustration, hatred, betrayal, and pain of 2 entire lifetimes evaporated in that single moment. Later, I told my mother everything. The deaths. The betrayals. The twisted contracts. I spoke of it as a dream. She listened in silence, then pulled me into her arms and held me tightly. A dream like that, she whispered, my Arya will never have again. With the Grand Elder exposed and executed, my mother's position as family leader became unshakable. And I, for the first time, had the freedom to leave the estate and explore the world beyond. But I was never truly alone. There was always someone at my side. A beastman in black robes. Black hair. Eyes that, in certain light, gleamed with vertical pupils. Kieran.